how does one atone for horrendous acts of, failed nerve? How do you come to peace with yourself? Just incredibly important questions that I don't hear people talking about this stuff, but it's the heart of humanity. It's the heart of who we are. It's the heart of writing. It's the heart of art. It's the heart of mortality. It's all this stuff. Maybe it's because I'm getting older. Maybe it's because I had the good fortune of being exposed to the work of Sophocles when I was in high school, Sophocles the Greeks. And now I can look back and say, I am so grateful for what I learned about these, because this turned out to be a lot of the underpinning of a lot of my writing is the search, is the coming to know oneself. I see it in a lot of my work. A lot of my work is like that. And I'm grateful, because for me, it means like, okay, if I'm on this journey and if I'm pursuing this, then it's because I've read people who have done this also, and I think my work may have some value for people coming along after me. They can look at it and say, yeah, I recognize that issue, I recognize that challenge, I recognize that journey within myself. We're all far more similar than we are different. And that is such a wonderful thing to know.
Right. Moving on to Metamorphosis Blues, if I were to sum up your work in one word, I would say it would be profound. Never is this more relatable than the first story in Metamorphosis Blues, Bats.
Yeah.
It first appeared in Vampire Crypt issue 24, right?
Yep.
And it makes a pretty powerful statement on what real monsters look like. These two kids, Edward and Roy, I believe, they are obsessed with monster movies, Dracula, Creature of the Black Lagoon, etc.
Yeah.
And they wonder, what does a real monster look like? Would they look like that? Would they look like that? And one day they see a kid thrown out on the stitch by his angry father. Get the hell out of here, And they realize almost immediately when they see the monster, and it never even attacks them for them to know that it's a monster.
Yep.
That's what a real monster looks like. They answer their own question with that. They had an epiphany.
Yep.
You feel that's very subtle, and that is profound. If anything is profound, that is. And that really sets the tone for the rest of the book and told me this guy's work is really something special. I need to pay attention to this because he's saying something. It's not weirdness for weirdness' sake,
Right.
And do you feel subtlety has been compromised in modern storytelling, that they have a tendency to beat readers over the head with what they want them to see and feel?
Yeah. I think the best writing is the writing that leads you to an inescapable conclusion. And that's the art. That's the real art of storytelling. Is how to do that in such a way that the reader is sucked into it, and all of a sudden they see and they understand on a level that they weren't prepared to get what the situation and what the intent of the writer truly is. And if that hasn't changed them, then the writer, as far as I'm concerned, hasn't done their job. Because as I'm putting down that stuff on the paper, I'm writing it because that's what I saw. And if that's what I saw, then damn it, other people are seeing it too. And the duty of a writer is to get it out there and say, look, this is the nature of evil. This is the monster that we need to look at.
Right. So nowadays, we have a tendency to try and understand, well, what made the monster that way? Maybe he needs our sympathy too. And we end up forgetting about the child who was hit by the monster. Is he right?
Yep. Yep.
How do you communicate big ideas in one's work without turning a story into a full-blown lecture? How do you get that toughness of narrative?
I see how other people have done it. I see how other writers have done it. I come from a background where I've been exposed to, and very, very pleased to have been exposed to, a lot of really fine writers. I've read just about everything of something, read the best example of the work that you want to look at or emulate, okay? And when you do that, you see why certain works stand the test of time. These people out there who have written forever, who've been well-recognized, are well-recognized for a reason, because they understand the art. So they're your teachers. You go to your teachers. And they're the mentor. They're the people who can teach you. And you read and you learn. And that's the way I did it. And if I want to know how to write something pretty spooky or pretty strange, all I got to do is pick up Kafka. I can flip right into that mindset. I can flip right into that mode and see the world the way he saw it. I can move right into it, and I can move with that. I can do it with Bradbury. I can do it because these writers have a certain type of energy, a certain type of cadence, a certain type of structure of their language that you can move into that and start, if you will, emulating that and seeing how those words are chosen. And if they can, if they, by doing that work, with writers who have done it well, how can you not learn?
Well, I have about 3 more questions, because we have about, I'd say, 12, 13 minutes left. And I think we can go a little bit over, but I don't want to keep you anymore. You probably have a busy Saturday planned. You are not confined only to the realm of fiction. You also have 2 spiritually based books out.
Yes.
Could you tell us about those books and communicate to us in the short time we have what it is that you believe in spiritually?
The books are presently sitting with my agent. We're looking for a wider publication distribution. The first one is Mountains of the Night, and it's the beginning of a trilogy. The second of which is Magical Wild Places. The third one, which will be written this autumn, is Majesty of the World. And Mountains of the Night is about the idea that all of us are going to have at times things that are going to be thrown up before us. They're going to be major challenges, be it disease, be it relationship issues, whatever those issues are. People are going to be challenged. And you have a choice about what you're going to do about that. You can either take on the challenge and do the best you can with it and come to at some point to peace with how you're dealing with it. And these challenges are what I call the mountains of the night. These are things that surface in our lives. And once we understand that, the way through these issues is kind of like a trail in the mountains. And you get on that trail and you start traveling, and you don't know what the destination is going to be. All you know is that you have to travel that trail in order to find out whether, where you're going to go is where you want to eventually go. And if you do that, then what happens is that wherever you arrive in a state of, if you will, grace and serenity, because you realize that no matter how the journey turns out, you chose to do that. And that's courage. That's absolute courage. The people who die 1,000 deaths are those people who see the journey before them but decline the offer because it's not the right time, it's not the right date, they haven't got the right clothes, it's not, not the right temperature, it's not all these issues do not deal with what they need to deal with to give their lives purpose and meaning. And they're the ones who always want one more day to try to do it. Of course, the day passes and nothing happens. So that's the first book, Mountains of the Night. And it has to do with me having a chronic illness. I have diabetes type 1, and I've had it now for 51 years, and I'm still in excellent shape. And a lot of my Mountains of the Night had to deal with a lot of issues surrounding the stress around the disease. And once I found out what those stresses were, made changes in my life. And today, 51 years later, I'm still backpack, and I don't have anything wrong with me, and pretty good.
That's great. We need you around more than ever.
Yeah, the second book has to do with a relationship with my father. choice to be, bitter for the rest of my life, yeah, I can do that. That's really easy. Much harder to say that's the way it was. If he had his choice to come into life, he probably wouldn't have said, oh boy, here's my chance to come into his life and be a schlep and beat everyone up. Boy, what a great opportunity. He'd probably be horrified if he knew that's what his life was going to be. So we always have to move toward forgiveness. It's just another way of doing it. We have to forgive no matter what. That's all there is forgiveness. And the third book, The Majesty of the World, is that when your issues are laid to rest, when you come to acceptance of where you are in the world, and the world is, it's majestic. It is absolutely as beautiful as it can possibly be. If we just let ourselves, open ourselves up to what, how incredible it is to be here, because we spend so much time worrying and fretting about our leaving and dying that we don't ever think about, we didn't have to be here in the first place. Why don't we didn't have to be born. No one has to be born. Here we are. Let's make it a beautiful world. Let's treat each other as we ourselves would like to be treated. Let's follow in the footsteps of Sophocles and talk about personal accountability, what it is to connect, what it is to be human, what it is to be mortal. Let's be in this world and love being alive. What the hell is wrong with that?
Well, what an uplifting message. The time gets ever closer, though.
Sure. Yeah.
What has it been like working with the Racerette Press and Fantastic Planet books, Bruce? And also, was Cameron Pierce already familiar with your work, or did you approach?
I got to know these folks through time, through conventions, and to be recognized by them and have them do my work has been, it's been an honor. I met Carlton Mellick at a writing workshop many years ago. He gave me a manuscript to critique, and that turned out to be, I just absolutely found the work to be very wonderfully done. And then I think he let other people know about me, for which I'm very, very grateful. And that's how that came about. And finally, met more folks. I got invited to BizarroCon, and that began the association. They've been really very supportive of me, for which I'm very, very grateful. Unfortunately, over the last few years, I had some issues come up, given I discovered in the last few years was a gluten sensitivity, which I didn't know I had until diagnosed just recently, but started having some health stuff. Couldn't make it to some of the conventions, unfortunately. Since then, I've gone back on track. I'm fine again. And so I kind of dropped the ball on some being with those folks. But that's again caught up now. That's good. So I'm hoping for more. I'm hoping for more good things to happen. And it's been good. It's been good.
Okay. One last thing before we wrap this up, Bruce. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Both of your submissions to Surreal Grotesque magazine, you and the second submission, One Morning, are both have been accepted for future issues.
Thank you.
We'll work out the details later. Thank you. And I'm sure there's more where that came from with those 900 stories you're sitting on. We want to thank you so much for joining us. And any time that we can promote anything of yours, please let us know. The clock has gotten us. It was very inspiring, and you honor us by being here.
I can't tell you how delighted I am by the